Shalom. I want to give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles for the edification and knowledge. And to Wadi Bashim Yahshua for putting the spirit of elders and apostles so we become edified regarding this truth and knowledge. Call Halil Yahbashim Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash. Give all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahshua Bashim Rakakadash. Let's go to Hebrews 13 and 14. Hebrews 13 and 14. Hebrews 13 and 14. For here have we no continuing city, but we seek one to come. So this relates to the Israelites. They have no continuing city, man. Because in the state of condition they are, they're under punishment, man. And they're seeking one to which is to come. That's the next kingdom, man. Go to go to Limitations. We'll go to Limitations 4 and 17. I'm going to go to Limitations 1 and 21 and 22. Limitations 4 and 17. Limitations 4 and 17. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help and our watching. We have watched for a nation that could not save us. So Israel cannot be saved, man. We couldn't be saved because they're under the conditions relating to the curses. They're being punished. Because ultimately their transgressions are against the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, man. So no one can help. Only one that can save them is the one that can redeem them back. And that's Yahweh Shai, man. Go to 1 and 21. Limitations 1, 21 and 22. For they have heard that I sigh. There is none to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that thou hast done it. Psalms 83. All those nations that were confederate, pretty much they collaborated together to go against the nation of Israel. Read it again. They have heard that I sigh. There is none to comfort me. All my enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that thou hast done it. Thou wilt bring the day that thou hast called, and they shall be like unto me. Let all their wickedness come before thee. Deuteronomy 30 and 7. The curses are going to come upon these other nations. Let all their wickedness come before thee, and do unto them as thou hast done to me. And that's that recompense, man. Ultimately, man. They're going to get double fold for what they have done. We'll read 22 again. Let all their wickedness come before thee, and do unto them as thou hast done unto me. Put Revelations 13 and 10. Thou that put in captivity shall be put in captivity. Thou that kill with the sword shall be killed with the sword. So that's that recompense, man. I'm paraphrasing it. Let all thy enemies come upon thee, and do unto them as thou hast done unto me. For all my transgressions, for my sides are many, and my heart is faint. So that's pretty much what they're going through, man. They're in the lowest state because of what they have to deal with, what their enemies have done to them, man. That perpetual hatred, man, they have to no end. They capitalize on their, in their state of condition, man. Psalms 83, that these nations collaborate. That's part of the punishment, though, because ultimately the nation of Israel sinned against the Lord, so they were made to serve these other nations, and these other nations would be made to pretty much oppress them and rule over them, and they all had to go to him for every want and thing relating to Deuteronomy 28. Man. Let me quote 13 and 10 Revelations real quick. I'll start at 9. If any man hear, let him hear. Pretty much spiritual ears to hear and understand. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So whoever ones who put into captivity, they're going to be put into captivity. They're going to go into captivity. So ones who put in captivity or bondage to certain groups, categories, groups of people, they're going to receive that same treatment back to them, man. 13 and 10, let's read it again. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So that's that spiritual recompense, that spiritual recompense, retribution, man. Payback, vengeance, man. Spiritual vengeance, spiritual recompense that's going to be upon ones who put their hands on the Lord's people, man. This course, it talks about scriptures. I'll talk about 149, Psalms 8 and 9, Psalms 2, 8 and 9, Revelations 2, 26 and 28. Revelations 13 and 10, Isaiah 60 and 12, Isaiah 14 and 2. Just a few scriptures related to captivity. So there's going to be some that are going to be under bondage and yoke, man. Let's go to Jeremiah 15 and 5. Jeremiah 15 and 5. Jeremiah 15 and 5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? Nobody. Pretty much asking who's going to have sympathy or compassion for the nation of Israel, man, going through the state and condition that they're going to be going through. No nation's going to have sympathy. No nation's going to care to. No nation has no interest to. And that's part of what they had to deal with, man. Because they're going to have to bite the bullet of going through the trials and tribulations relating to their disobedience to the Lord, man. So that's part of that punishment. Scripture talk about a nation of a fierce countenance. They're not going to regard young or old. I believe that's Deuteronomy 28 and 50. So this nation ain't going. A fierce countenance, appearance. They're not gonna regard the Lord's people, man. They're not gonna regard. They're not gonna have sympathy or compassion for the Lord's people, man, because these nations were made and designed, put up to inflict punishment on the nation of Israel, because nation of Israel disobeyed the Lord, man. Go to Tobit 13 and Shalakia. Go to Baruch 4 and 6. Baruch 4 and 6. For you were sold to the nations, not for your destruction. So you were sold for your nations, not for your destruction, but really for your punishment, man, because you disobeyed the Lord, man. Let's see, Shalakia. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved Yahweh to wrath. Ye were delivered to the enemies. The enemies are what? The other nations. It's ultimately for the punishment of the nation of Israel for their disobedience, man, for a time being, man. But the reason why, because they moved their power to wrath and ultimately punish the nation of Israel for their disobedience, man. So they cause it upon themselves, man. But only for a time being, using these other nations to continuously punish them. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing to devil these other idols and not to God. So they work idolatry, worshiping these other gods instead of their own God, the power of Yahweh Shem Yashah. So that's the reason why, man. So the Lord made to punish these, use these other nations to punish the nation of Israel ultimately. Let's go to Shalakia. We'll see something for a minute. I want to check something in Tobit. Tobit, I'm going to try 13 and 4. Oh, Shalakia, never mind. Okay, I'm going to go to let's go to Isaiah 10 and 1. Isaiah 10 and 1. Woe unto them, woe is warning for destruction. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, laws, statutes, policies, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. So these things that they prescribe relating to these policies, these laws, are grievous to most of the people, man. Proverbs 29 and 2. When the righteous are in authority, people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, people mourn. How they bear rule, how they're bearing their rule of the wicked, their policies, man. The decrees, the laws, the statutes in the land, man. If they are unrighteous, then it's grievous to the people, man. And a lot of them are, man. They don't benefit a whole lot of people, especially certain category groups of people, man. Read that again. Woe unto them that write decrees unrighteous, Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, and turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the rights from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So these grievousness related to these policies, these laws, these statutes and decrees, they are grievous to the ones who are the lesser of the people, which are the poor and the righteous, man. So they don't benefit them. Because you have a wicked that's in power, man. Job 9 and 24, the earth has been given to the hands of the wicked, man. And like I said, Proverbs 29 and 2, when the righteous are in authority, people rejoice. So if the righteous were in authority, people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, people mourn. So they're mourning because the wicked's in power. So, for example, the unrighteous decrees that the wicked write and prescribe are grievous. So people are mourning, man. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 10. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. So a wise judge, the government of that wise judge, the people of that prudent man is going to be well ordered, man. As the judge of the people is himself, so are the officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is. Such are all that they dwell in. So whatever manner of persons they are, relating to the ones in power, then their ones under them will be in the same manner, man. Whether righteous or unrighteous, man. An unwise king will destroy his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, man. So an unwise king destroys his people, man. And the government and the structure and everything in it. The power of the earth is in the hands of the Lord. And in due time, he will set over one that is profitable. Because the Lord controls who's in power. The Lord can put righteous, unrighteous rulers in the position of power, man. Ultimately, it's the Lord anyway. He can put a wise king, he can put an unwise king. And he's going to set one that's profitable, beneficial overall. And that's his son, Yahushua. In the hand of Yahweh is prosperity of man, and upon the persons of the scribe shall he lay his honor. Go to 12 and 10. Let me say Ecclesiastes 12 and 10. Ecclesiastes 12 and 10. Let me see. Ecclesiastica Shalakia 10 and 8. Because of unrighteous dealings and injuries and riches got by deceit. Unrighteous dealings, injuries, violence, riches got by deceit. By forms of pretty much sorcery, treachery, and deception, man. The kingdom is translated from one people to another. So it's translated from one people to another. It's going to be retranslated back from the ones who took back to the original owners, man. I want to go to some words, freedom and liberty, real quick. Freedom. Definition of freedom: the power or right to act, speak, think as one without hindrance or restraint. So no boundaries, no limitations. Similar words: privilege, prerogative, due, independence, self-government, self-determination. And you have liberty. You got liberty. I'm going to give you a liberty definition here. Now, liberty, regular definition: the state of being free without society from oppression, restriction imposed by authority on one's way or life, behavior, or politics. Independence, freedom, autonomy, sovereignty, freedom, independence, free reign. The state of being free from society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior. Now, there's a difference between liberty and freedom, actually. Let's get it. Here we go. Both liberty and freedom are synonyms. Terms liberty is a form of freedom. Since both of these terms mean the same thing, one can be used in the place of the other. Sometimes it can be confusing. People find it hard to decide which word to use in the case of the words freedom and liberty. Liberty is defined as the right and the power to behave, act, and express oneself as one chooses, and being free from restrictions and having the freedom of choice. It is the condition of having the power to act and to speak without restraints. So liberty is basically that condition, man, to act, think, and speak without restraints. And another word is permission, getting permission. For example, of liberty. You get liberty when you go to a port. It's a military term. If anybody understands that. So you have to get permission. You get permission, so you're allowed to have liberty. So it's certain conditions regarding that. So that liberty it might have that freedom, but it's conditions within that liberty, man. And the word for another word is emancipation. That relates to transference from a freedom of one entity to another, man. You get it? Transference is property, such as a slave, because a slave is a property. transfers his property from pretty much from a private to a public, man. So it's only illusion of freedom, man. Only illusion of liberty, man. Under certain conditions, man. So that's the difference. Liberty has a form of freedom, but it's under certain conditions. It's not really true freedom, you know what I mean? You have to get some permission or allowance pretty much to act, speak, and do accordingly, man. This was just a few relating to a few scriptures, because in some ways we are pretty much property of the corporation, man, if you know what I'm saying. So, which means we're labeled, numbered, in a matter of speaking, man. So we need certain things to do to and fro. So we bounded by the laws of the land. So that form of freedom, pretty much you have to ask permission really to have that freedom, man. You know what I mean? Freedom is really not freedom, man. In a matter of speaking, man. Because it never was free anyway. And that being said, this is something short, something to think about. I want to give all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Bashem Rakakadash. I hope it helps whoever listens. This is Brother Zayab, which means wolf. Shalom. Thanks.